Today we are publishing the new MUI for Figma 5.14 for product designers and developers, and anyone that uses our design system. I'd like to give you an introduction and explain why this milestone is important for our teams. Everyone knows that when we migrated to React, we adopted MUI or Material UI Components library, and we have been using this library since then. But for this video, I'm going to give you an introduction about the new library and what it means for designers and developers moving forward. When you go to the MUI website, there's a page with a list of new releases. Like I mentioned before, for the design system, we are publishing the 5.14 version. As you can see, there is another one, but this is for Joy UI, which is a library that we don't use currently. The 5.14 version is an important one because it comes with breaking changes, like the Figma variables, which is something that we will discuss in other videos, and new components like data grid, stack component, etc. The new MUI library is about 98% out-of-the-box components, and 2% is customizations that we have done in the past. For example, we added the tertiary colors, and we have added a secondary background color, etc. Now, what this means is that anytime a design is handed off to a developer, all the components used in the design should bring you back to this library. What this library is basically our source of truth for MUI component. The developer will be able to inspect the properties, the variants that come with a component, and also what component are you using in a particular design. I'm gonna show you one example using this dummy file. Let's say that this is the design handed off to a developer. One of the things that I'm going to mention in this video is that there is a new tool for developers inside of Figma, and I encourage every developer to use it. It's called Dev Mode, and it's specially made for developers. So when you're inspecting a design inside of Figma, there is this toggle on the top right corner. When you switch this to the Dev Mode, you can see a lot of information about what components and colors and dev resources that you can use while inspecting the design. One of the things that you'll be able to see is to inspect in the design. So for example, I can see that the designer has used a text field, has used a button, of course, but this one is called a form control label. How about this one? It's a select, a toggle group buttons. And so the developer will be able to inspect every single MUI component and expect that it is out-of-the-box component. So on this view, on the right panel, you'll be able to see all the components, all the MUI components that that designer has used in the design. Another nice feature in Figma that I am encouraging every product designer to use is the label marked as ready for dev. So let's say with the same example, all of these mockups are ready for production, but only one set is ready for the next sprint. Let's say job directory is ready. When you click on the set of mockups, you can see this icon that when you click on it, it basically will give you a label, ready for dev. And what developers can do is click on the three dots and you can click on Open Dev Mode and it will take you directly to that panel. And like I was saying, you can start inspecting the design. You can even copy a link and send it to the developer, and the developer will land directly on these mockups. So this is another nice feature that I think we should be using to improve our handoff process. One of the things I want to highlight is that when you check this library, the list of all the components, it's a replica of the list that you will see in MUI website. So if I go to the MUI website, you can see where all the components are, starting with the inputs, and then you can see all the input components, then you can see the data display, and then all the components. Same thing with Figma. When you check all the components, you will be able to see the same categories and same components. So it is in some way one-to-one with what you see in the MUI website. Now with The variables, this is a topic that we're going to be covering in other videos, but what MUI did is that they integrated the default theme into the variables. What I mean by that is that when you go to the MUI website and you see the default theme with all the stuff, the palette, all the colors, the spacing, and some other stuff like the shadows, you're gonna be seeing all that represented in here in this list. So for example, if I go to the text, you can see all the text tokens, primary, secondary, disable, hover. Same thing when you go to the default theme. This is exactly the same information that is represented here. So that's why it is very important for developers to invest a little bit of time when they're checking our new library, because they're gonna be able to see that everything that you see in the default theme, it's basically represented in Figma in this way. Any new thing that we add to this library, right? Let's say that we are adding something else. Let's say that, for example, with the example I just gave you, we added a secondary background, something that is not out of the box. So we added a secondary background under the background category. And as you can see here, this is what we have added. Anything new that we add to this library should be documented and should have a process. One thing worth mentioning is that in this new library, we are able to have all the dark mode and the light mode colors. So what that means is that anytime you have a set of mockups, and let's say the product designer and the developer are looking to see how these mockups look in dark mode, all you have to do is go to the palette and switch to the dark mode of that brand. So when you do that, you're gonna be able to see all the colors in dark mode. Let's say in this case it's for active and fit. And you'll be able to see how the colors apply to the dark mode. Now, all that is happening thanks to the variables, because we have the right colors in the right mode. And that is gonna help developers to see if we are aligned with the colors that you have in the code and the colors that you see in Figma, as well as our documentation in our design system website. The last thing I want to mention is that our design system project in Figma is for everybody. So if you're not part of this project, please let me know so I can add you here. When you get added, you're gonna be able to see our project. And what we have accomplished in the past few sprints is that we're going from having all kinds of things, all kinds of libraries, and just simplifying our project with that one library. And that should be easier to follow and more efficient to use. So I have a lot more things to say about the new library, but what we're gonna be doing is a dedicated page in our design system website with videos, demos, and all kinds of resources so people can learn about the things that the design system is doing. If you have any questions, please ask those questions in the IFDS community, or you can come to office hours Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 11:30 Pacific time. Thank you very much, guys.